After months of dilly-dallying, Prime Minister Pushpa Dhal's India visit is finally on the cards. Nepal's ambassador to India, Shankar Sharma, called on Indian Minister for External Affairs, S. Jaishankar, earlier today in New Delhi. At a time when Prime Minister Dhal has publicly reiterated about his upcoming India visit, scheduled to take off at the end of May next week, the high-profile meeting in Delhi is seen in the same light, while the two leaders have committed to take the age-old bilateral relations between the two neighbors to newer heights. Good evening, I'm Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. The government gears up to provide general amnesty to Resham Chaudhary, the mastermind of Tikapur massacre. Opinions of legal practitioners clash. The trial in the fake Bhutanese refugee scam begins tomorrow. Court can call any individual whose name is taken during trial. Home Minister says search is on for evidences. Nepal to raise the issue of India denying air route to Nepal during Prime Minister Dhal's India visit. Premier Dhal faces challenges in settling a number of issues, including entry points for fines. And Nepal taking on Kazakhstan in the semi-final of the Kava Challenge Cup tomorrow. Host Nepal eye a place in the final as India take on Uzbekistan in the other semi. The government has filed an application at the Office of the President for pardon to those behind bars, including Resham Chaudhary, who is serving a life sentence for his involvement in the Tikapur massacre. Legal advisor to the President, Bauram Kumar, has said that applications for general amnesty to Resham Chaudhary and others have been filed at the Office of the President by the Ministry of Home Affairs. The ministry recommends names for pardon from the President on the Republic Day, which falls on the 15th of Jesta as per the Nepali calendar. Before the recommendation, the application has been filed to understand the stance of the Office of the President. The process is followed by a proposal for pardon at the Council of Ministers. Recommendation for pardon is made only after a decision is taken from the Cabinet. Prior to this, Prime Minister Pushpa Dhal had held consultations with President Ramchandra Paudel regarding a general amnesty for Resham Chaudhary and others. A 2-year-old and 7 security personnel were killed during the Tikapur massacre in Kailali when protests were held against the constitution. On the 16th of May last week, the Supreme Court had upheld the life sentence slapped on Chaudhary by the Kailali District Court and the High Court Dipayal. Constitution and legal experts are divided on the topic of pardon. While some have said that the President can issue a pardon, others have stated that the President cannot issue a pardon for those convicted of heinous crimes. According to Article 276 of the Constitution, the President can issue a pardon or amend the sentence issued by courts, judicial or semi-judicial authorities, and administrative officials or departments. Pardons are issued on the Constitution Day, Republic Day, and Democracy Day. Chaudhary has remained behind bars since the 27th of February 2018. Based on the life sentence issued by the courts, Chaudhary will have to remain 20 years behind bars. If he is issued the pardon, his sentence will be reduced by around 15 years. A massive public interest has been generated by the fake Bhutanese refugee scam as a case has been filed against the 30 alleged culprits involved in the multi-million rupees scandal. Nepal police have continued with the investigation against individuals other than the 30 defendants who have also been allegedly involved in the case. The District Government Attorney's Office has filed a case against 30 alleged culprits in the fake Bhutanese refugee scam, riding on the 60-day investigation carried out by Nepal police. The defendants include former Deputy Prime Minister Top Bahadur Raimaji and former Minister for Home Affairs Balkrishna Khand, among others. The trial to put the defendants behind bars or free them on bail while they are prosecuted will start from tomorrow. It means the case has now entered the phase of court proceedings. In the meantime, Nepal police have also corresponded with the anti-graft body Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority CIAA and the Department of Anti-Money Laundering Investigation for additional investigations. The two separate departments will now investigate the case in their own respective ways. On a brighter side, the police have reached an understanding of investigating against other individuals whose names have also surfaced during the police grilling. The court can also summon any individual whose names are taken by the defendants during the trial. In our Public Voice segment, today we have asked what should be done to take forward curbing corruption as a campaign. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice brought
यो चेन्ज गर्नको लागि नीति नै परिवर्तन गर्नुपर्छ त्यो चेन्ज नगर्दासम्म यो भ्रष्टाचार चाहिँ रोकिदैन
यदि भ्रष्टाचार गरेको खण्डमा चाहिँ कडा भन्दा कडा कठोर कानुन बनाएर त्यसलाई कार्यान्वयन गर्नुपर्छ
तल्लो निकायदेखि नै यो भ्रष्टाचार भनेको के हो र त्यसका बारेमा शिक्षा दिन जरुरी छ
भ्रष्टाचार विरुद्धको नीति नियमहरू लागू गर्ने अनि भ्रष्टाचारमा मुछेकोलाई कारबाही गर्न पर्यो
जिम्मेवार व्यक्ति संस्थाहरूले समयमै चनाखो भएर उनीहरूको नियमन गर्ने अनुगमन गर्ने
युवाहरूले नै चाहिँ चेन्जको लागि चाहिँ अघि सर्नुपर्छ
सबै नेपाली नागरिकहरू सबै सचेत हुनुपर्छ
The festival of Ratha Machindranath or Voto Jatra, one of the longest chariot processions celebrated in Lalitpur, has come to a conclusion today with the displaying of the jeweled vest locally called as Voto. President Ramchandra Paudel attended the event as the head of the state. This is the first public festival attended by President Paudel after he became the country's third president. There was also a large throng of revelers to grace the festival at Lalitpur's Jawla Khel, where the jeweled vest or Voto is displayed 4 days after being brought from Lagan Khel. Red Machindranath is also considered the deity of rain and prosperity, while it is celebrated by the name Karunamaya by the Buddhist community. As per the legend, the jeweled vest was gifted by Serpent King to a farmer. However, later on there were disputes regarding the ownership of the vest. Ever since, the trend started of claiming for the ownership of the vest by producing evidence, which eventually kicked off the festival of Red Machindranath, popularly known as the Vote Jatra in local dialect. The government had also announced of a public holiday in all 3 districts of the Kathmandu Valley on the occasion of the Ratha Machindranath festival today. It is now time for a short break, but for more news, do stay with us. Topics including cross-border flights, new entry points and operation of new airports are to be raised during Prime Minister Pushpakumar Dahal's upcoming India visit. The 2 new airports have yet to operate at full capacity because of what is termed geopolitical issues. Now, Prime Minister Dahal, who has been claiming that his India visit would be historic in nature, faces the challenge of finding solutions to these issues as well. The Gautam Buddha International Airport in Lumini came into operation a year ago. However, international flights landing at the airport have yet to receive an easy entry point to Nepal through India. Despite requests from the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal for entry point from Lumsi of India near Lumini, India has remained indifferent to the issue. Entry from Lumsi would ease flights for Gautam Buddha and Pokhara airports while reducing costs of the service for the service seekers. Experts have recommended requesting entry points while also considering the proposed Nisgad International Airport. The government aims to increase the number of tourists arriving in Nepal by 2-fold in the coming years. To meet this target and cope with the increase of aviation pressure by around 15%, the government has prioritized commercial operation of the airports constructed at huge investments. Nepal has been demanding 7 entry points from east to west. India has been denying entry points from Mahendranagar and Nepalganj, citing what it calls military strategic areas. Flight duration is likely to reduce by 10 to 15 minutes if an entry point is provided at Mahendranagar for flights arriving from the west. A meeting between the technical officials has already been scheduled to resolve technical issues before the India visit of Prime Minister Dahal. Industry Department Chief of the Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation, Buddhi Sagar Lamitsane, and Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, Pradeep Adhikari, have already reached New Delhi for the same. Now, despite the aviation route being a technical topic, analysts have said that politicization of the issue has increased complications. Saying that the Pokhara airport was built with grant assistance from China, India has not cleared aviation permit. Meanwhile, regular flights have also not been held from the Gautam Buddha International Airport, which was constructed by a Chinese company. It has been learned that operation of both airports will be included in the agenda for Prime Minister Dahal's India visit. Analysts maintain that Prime Minister Dahal's India visit will be fruitful if he makes successful diplomatic effort for operation of the 2 airports built with billions in loan. It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Poll.
Before we ask today's question, let us take a look at the result from yesterday's poll. Yesterday we had asked, what could be the reason for the delay in appointing the leadership of parliamentary committees? 54% voted for A, no power sharing consensus. 34% were for B, result of dilly-dallying, and 12% were for C, trying to complete procedures. And here is our today's question. How can the genuine Bhutanese refugees languishing in the camps be managed? Your options are A, home repatriation, B, third country settlement, and C, settle in Nepal. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. We've got more news coming up, but right now it is time for yet another short break.
Sports news brought
Semi-final matches of the National Sports Council Central Asian Volleyball Association Women's Volleyball Challenge Cup are slated for tomorrow. Host Nepal play Kazakhstan in the second semi-final. Team Nepal finished as runners-up of Pool A after suffering a 4-set defeat against India in their last group stage match and are set to take on Pool A winners Kazakhstan, who had seen off Uzbekistan in their last group match. Team Nepal are aiming to secure a hat-trick of the trophy of the tournament being held at home this time. Nepal women's volleyball team head coach John Brandt has termed the clash against Kazakhstan a tough one. The match between the two sides is slated to begin after 5 p.m. at the National Sports Council's Cover Hall in Tripureshwar. Prior to that, Pool A winners India take on Pool B runners-up Uzbekistan in the first semi-final. In the matches played today for ranking points, Kyrgyzstan saw off Maldives while Sri Lanka secured a win against Bangladesh. Kyrgyzstan will now play Sri Lanka for the 5th place, while Maldives and Bangladesh will compete for the 7th place. Nepal's national women's volleyball team are currently competing at the Kava Challenge Cup underway at the National Sports Council's Covered Hall in Tripureshwar. With 2 impressive matches, Nepal reached the semi-finals before suffering a sour defeat against India in the last group stage match. And despite easy wins against relatively weaker sides, Nepal's litmus test was against India. Lack of exposure was evident in the Nepali team, who failed to secure their first win against the southern neighbors. Now, according to head coach John Brandt, Nepal have to first improve their services. The women's national volleyball team secured wins in their first 2 matches of the Kava Women's Volleyball Challenge Cup, their first participation at an international tournament in 2 years. India were the obstacle in Nepal's aspiration to finish atop the Pool A standings after brushing aside Kyrgyzstan and Bangladesh in straight sets. Home supporters were left with a sour feeling as India edged past Nepal in 4 sets. Coach Brandt has said that Nepal played very poorly in the first set, but added that the comeback was a positive point.
Be honestly, I think if we play 10 times against India, we will lose 9. In the past you lose 10, okay? But we proved that from the second set we could play against them. And this must give us self-confidence that we can play good volleyball and that we can also play good against a very physical team. And we never had this in our preparation.
Nepal's match against India was being seen as a test of standard of the team. The group stage match against India was the first time the two sides faced each other after the 5-set win for India in the 13th South Asian Games back in the year 2019. Nepal had lost points in services back then as well.
2 days, 4 days, or service. That has to be stronger. The second thing, okay, I am satisfied with the reception. We have to maintain the level of reception. But I think the biggest lesson of today is we were fighters.
Team is so good, absolutely good. It required, my team also is good. We required more exposure, more exposure. That is lack of exposure for your team also, for my team also.
Team Nepal are set to take on Pool A winners Kazakhstan in the semi-finals slated for tomorrow. Considered the strongest side among 8 participating nations at the tournament, Kazakhstan have performed below expectations. Having won all of their group stage matches, Kazakhstan are set to play Nepal for the first time. 2-time Central Zone champions Nepal are aiming to make amends in their errors and play the final against India. In another semi-final also slated for tomorrow, India play Uzbekistan, who had finished as the runners-up of Pool B. The Nepal women's national cricket team for the series against Malaysia has been announced. Cricket Association of Nepal, CAN, has announced a 14-member squad led by skipper Rubina Chetri. Team Nepal are to play a 5-match series against Malaysia. CAN has announced the Nepal squad after a week-long preparation. The team includes Sita Rana Magar, Indu Verma, Kavita Kuwar, Kavita Joshi, Asmina Karmacharya, Kritika Marasini, Bindu Rawal, Apsari Begum, Kajol Shrestha, Samjana Khatka, Ishwari Besta, Jyoti Pandey and Saraswati Chaudhary. The 5-match series between the two sides begin on the 29th of May. All matches will be played at the UST Oval in Malaysia. So that is all for the moment. Up next is the news in Nepali. Thank you for staying with us. Goodbye for now.